I fell in love during a genocide. It's a strange sentence to write down because it reads like a beautifully insulting contradiction. The kind of sentence that feels morally out of place, like laughing at a funeral or planting flowers in a graveyard, but it feels like it's needed anyway. As the universe would have it, this impossibly timed dissonance happened to me. Somewhere between watching apartment blocks collapse on my phone screen and scrolling past another headline about children buried under concrete, I found someone who made it feel like the world is worth fighting for again. The first time we interlocked eyes, my doubts about my purpose melted away almost instantaneously. Love had made its magnetic appearance in the most ironically juxtaposed way possible. There's something surreal about softness existing in the same timeline as atrocity. You can be in the warm and calming embrace of someone while the news is quietly updating the death toll somewhere else. You can laugh, share a meal, talk about the future, and then remember that for millions of people, the future has been physically erased. It creates an intense sense of emotional whiplash that I don't think our brains were designed to process. For those of us connected to places being bombed, it adds another layer of confusion. Joy begins to feel suspicious. There's a quiet guilt that creeps in when you catch yourself smiling too easily, like you've broken some unspoken rule about how grief is supposed to look. You start asking strange questions that there is no guidebook for. Is it selfish to feel happy when people who look like you are being pulled from the rubble? Is it betrayal to fall in love while your home is being turned into a war zone? The diaspora lives inside that tension constantly. Your life continues in relative safety while the places that shaped you or shaped your parents are collapsing in real time. The danger your parents thought they were saving you from becomes a shattered facade. You go to work, answer emails, make dinner, argue about petty and trivial things, while part of your mind remains permanently stationed somewhere else. A parallel reality where the stakes are infinitely higher. War has a way of rewiring your nervous system, especially if you encountered it early enough to understand what it meant. You begin to carry a paranoid alertness that never really fully turns off. Institutions start to look less stable and headlines feel less trustworthy. The idea that civilization is held together by a fragile set of agreements becomes impossible to ignore once you've watched those agreements disappear overnight. It's the ultimate test of willpower to construct an intimate connection in the meantime. That awareness doesn't make love easier. If anything, it makes it feel fragile, temporary, like something that could be taken away at any moment. When you've seen how quickly entire neighborhoods can vanish, the idea of building something emotional with another person begins to feel like an act of reckless and delusional optimism. And yet somehow people keep doing it. That's the part that started to shift my perspective. Oppression, war, genocide, all rely on the same basic strategy: dehumanization. The goal is to reduce people into numbers, categories, threats, or collateral damage, to strip away the parts of them that make their lives feel sacred or irreplaceable. Love does the opposite. Love forces you to recognize another person's humanity and vulnerability in the most raw and real way possible, celebrating them at their best and forgiving them at their worst, while having the grace and patience to put out the fires together. It slows you down long enough to see someone as more than a statistic or a headline. It makes you imagine a future again, even if the world around you feels like it's actively discouraging that impulse. In that sense, love begins to look more like defiance and not a distraction from injustice. The world has always been burning somewhere. Empires have risen and collapsed, borders have been redrawn, cities have been erased and rebuilt again. Throughout all of it, ordinary people kept meeting each other, falling in love, getting married, raising children, and trying to build small pockets of meaning inside the chaos. History books tend to focus on wars and rulers, but beneath all of that noise, there has always been another story running parallel. The story of people refusing to let violence completely define what it means to be human. The story of breaking free of generational trauma that forces you to stay in survival mode and never thrive. Personally, I feel what all of this chaos does to me. That constant state of awareness and edge it puts you on. The way it can turn you into someone who's always ready to defend your loved ones to the death, always ready to react and be action-oriented. Sometimes they just want to vent. They want you to listen and be someone to lean on. That is what community healing is about. My protector mode doesn't switch off easily. And if you're not careful, it starts bleeding into places it shouldn't. You start directing that energy at your own people, your own relationships, the very things that you're supposed to be protecting. That's the oppressor's divisive trap. And I refuse to let that happen anymore. The stereotype of the Arab man stops with me no matter how long it takes. I believe love is the only thing that has ever stopped that vicious cycle. Maybe love is the real reason humanity keeps surviving itself. I never knew what it truly felt like to love until I fell in love during a genocide. At first it felt like a crazy contradiction I wasn't sure how to justify. Now it feels more like the only sane response left. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.